Imagine you pull into a petrol pump one day and unknowingly fill your car with a fuel that is different from what you just used a few years ago. You haven't changed your vehicle, but the fuel has changed. Today, almost every petrol pump in India sells E20 petrol. And now, the government is already talking about moving towards E25 and gradually to E85 and even E100 fuels. But what exactly are these fuels? Will they damage your car? Will you get lower mileage? Why is the government pushing ethanol so aggressively? And should you be worried? We will break it all down in this episode of TLDR at Earshot, where we address the questions everyone is asking and we make it crisp and fast. I am your host Garima, and with me is my colleague Deepavali.
Hi everybody. So, first things first, what exactly is E20? E20 is basically 20% ethanol and 80% conventional petrol-based fuel. Ethanol is a biofuel because it's made from biological substances like sugarcane, wheat, and corn. It also has oxygen in its structure, so which means when it combusts, it's a cleaner combustion. There's no carbon monoxide emissions, but ethanol has lower energy density than petrol. It's about 30% lower than petrol. Now, E20 has been a nationwide standard since April 2026.
But why are we mixing ethanol with petrol at all? So the main reason that the government cites is that India imports a huge portion of its crude oil from other nations. Every liter of petrol we replace with domestically produced ethanol means lower crude oil imports, lower foreign exchange spending, and more income for sugarcane farmers, and potentially lower carbon emissions in the country. So, from the government's perspective, ethanol isn't just a fuel, it's an economic and energy security strategy for the country.
But how will this benefit India and our economy? So first, like Garima said, it will reduce the fuel import bill. It will most likely trim 7% of the petrol import bill as per a 2021 Niti Aayog report, which is most quoted by those who support ethanol blending. The calculation is that 185 million tons of crude imported in 2020 and 2021 at a cost of $55 billion. Successful E20 program can save the country $4 billion per annum. But there is a caveat to this which we will address later. Second, ethanol will not be subject to any supply disruption because it's going to be produced in India, domestically. The West Asia war was a lesson. Trade routes were blocked and petroleum reserves were low. And we needed to stretch it considering the uncertainty of the war situation, we needed to ensure that the reserves are stretched longer. Then raising level of ethanol to a higher percentage is also a possibility because we will have security from crude price fluctuation as well, and that will save foreign exchange. Third, this is also an environmentally prudent option because ethanol is derived from biological sources. Its extraction and its combustion are more clean. Also, maize is the largest contributor to India's ethanol production with 258 crore liters of ethanol supplied. Ethanol produced from surplus grains that Food Corporation of India stores contributed 177 crore liters, followed by sugarcane juice at 144 crore liters and B-heavy molasses, which is a sugarcane milling byproduct, at 82 crore liters, and damaged food grains at 45 crore liters. So basically all of that to say that there is no dependence on a single crop. Also, it is pertinent to know that India is a surplus sugarcane producer. We are the second largest sugarcane producers in the world. And in the last 2 years or so, there's been an excess production. Sugarcane, remember, is a cash crop, so it has government support price. And over the years, farmers, seeing the advantages of growing sugarcane, have expanded cultivation. So now that there's a surplus, there's a need to protect farmers' incomes, and so the excess sugarcane can be diverted to export, of course, and also sugarcane ethanol production.
Yeah, right. But Deepavali, people have one big concern, and that is, will E20 damage my car? So experts say that the answer is, for most modern petrol vehicles designed or approved for E20, manufacturers say that it is generally safe. However, some of the older vehicles, the vehicles which were manufactured probably before 2020 or 2021, the engines there, they are not actually prepared for higher ethanol blends. So they may experience issues over time because ethanol behaves differently from petrol. And that is because ethanol has different chemical properties. It attracts moisture more easily. It can affect the rubber seals, hoses, and certain fuel materials in those components because they were never designed for higher ethanol concentrations. So modern E20 compatible vehicles, they are built with materials that can withstand the excess moisture in the fuel. But older vehicles may not be. So that's why checking your car's manual is important. And if you are buying the car now, then it is advised that you discuss this with the vehicle manufacturer and make sure that your car is compatible to E20 or E25 variants of ethanol.
Right. Now, another big question people have is that, will their mileage be affected? Will it reduce? So if you want a yes or no answer, and you want just the facts, the bare facts are that yes, it will reduce. Ethanol contains less energy density, like less energy per liter than petrol, like we've mentioned before. So that means that when the ethanol percentage increases, fuel efficiency can decrease slightly. However, some of the experts say that the reduction for E20 is usually modest, but this can vary depending on the type of vehicle and the driving conditions. And usually for city driving conditions, where you're starting and stopping frequently, you're stuck in traffic jams, then the mileage can be affected.
Yeah, right. So, but this is again confusing many of the consumers because people ask, if I'm getting slightly lower mileage, but petrol prices haven't fallen dramatically, so where is our benefit in this? So that is genuinely a fair question, when you see it from the POV of a consumer. But the government's stance on this is absolutely different. So they say that their objective isn't only today's fuel bill. Basically, this plan is to, reduce long-term oil imports, our dependency on foreign imports of crude oil, and also improving India's energy security and supporting cleaner fuels. So the benefits are meant to be more nation-centric than individual-centric.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about something that's making the headlines, which is E85. Now, if E20 already contains 20% ethanol, why are we talking about E85? That does seem like quite a big jump. So the answer is basically energy self-reliance and also India's ambitions to become a more sustainable economy. The green push is making us actively seek options that pollute less. So the electric vehicle push was also important, but remember, making electric vehicles relies on foreign components. If India wants to be Atmanirbhar, so it has to also seek out ways to ensure that the whole production cycle can be made domestic. Flex fuel vehicles can be a path to energy independence. Now, FFVs run on E20 to E85. They can run on any blend of ethanol. Maruti Suzuki WagonR flex fuel is already under production, and several other car makers like Toyota, Hyundai, and Tata are already exploring production of FFVs. They might retail at a lower price point. So, petrol, pure ethanol, or higher blends, it's going to be compatible with the whole range of fuels. So the question really is FFV going to be the future? Because if we are already talking about E85, then that's what it seems like the government is going to push next.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we will need vehicles that are compatible to this kind of fuel. So another query that people have is that if someone owns a regular petrol car today, can they use E85 as fuel in their car? So of course the answer is no, because the current engines of the car are not compatible for this. So doing this can damage the vehicle because it isn't designed for such a high ethanol concentration. So the government has made it clear that E85 is intended only for compatible flex fuel vehicles. And interestingly, India has already opened its first E85 retail outlet. Initially, these pumps are expected to expand gradually in selected cities before wider adoption. But the oil marketing companies are also being cautious right now. And because India previously experimented with E100 fuel and consumer demand remained extremely limited, they do not want to invest very, heavily in new infrastructure unless enough flex fuel vehicles are actually on the roads.
And that's perfectly sensible. Now, this brings us to another interesting comparison. Many people ask, if Brazil can successfully run on ethanol, why can't India? Now, Brazil has spent decades building its ethanol ecosystem. Their drivers often have multiple fuel choices, and many cars are already flex fuel. Consumers can choose whichever blend makes economic sense on that particular day, and India is just in the early stages of building such an ecosystem. One difference people notice today is that Indian consumers don't really choose between normal petrol and E20. E20 already is the standard fuel that's available at pumps, so there is no choice. As India explores higher blends in the future, experts suggest giving consumers more options, especially while older vehicles still remain on the roads.
Yeah, right. So now moving forward, like some people are worried that ethanol blending is bad for environment because growing crops requires land and water. So if we look at that, so is that concern valid? Well, overall it's a complicated issue because ethanol can reduce greenhouse gas emissions compared to the conventional petrol that we use in our vehicles. But producing ethanol also requires agricultural resources. So that means policymakers have to balance several objectives like reducing oil imports, supporting farmers, protecting water resources that will be used for irrigation, and then churning out E20 from these, crops. And then also ensuring food security and maintaining affordability of the fuel and food, of course. So it is not simply a question of ethanol being good or bad. It is also about how sustainably it is produced and managed in India.
Absolutely. Now the next question is, should you be worried if you're planning to buy a new car today or, in the recent future? New cars that are being sold past April 2023 are all E20 to E25 compatible. But if the government were to impose higher ethanol blends, then these cars will have to be supported by fuel infrastructure. Like they would need perhaps component replacements, and naturally people might expect, some monetary benefits for, moving into a higher blend of ethanol while their cars are not compatible, and it'll undergo wear and tear because of if they start using higher blend of ethanol. So the hardware, of course, will need to be tuned. The big worry, of course, is that will the fuel change drastically in the next 10 to 15 years? There's a lot of uncertainty shrouding that question. Although people who are worrying about E85 in a 10-year timeline seems unlikely. At least it won't be imposed top-down. There might be options. Perhaps flex fuel vehicles can opt for E85 if it's already on the market. However, even E30 can be a problem for the new cars that have been manufactured post 2023. So if you're planning to buy a new car, what should you do? Should you wait for flex fuel vehicles? So if you want to keep your car for the next 10 to 15 years, which is probably what many of us want to do, then maybe you can wait for a flex fuel to hit the markets. The government has already notified standards for E22, E25, E27 and E30 petrol blends. So the intention of the government is clear to move to higher ethanol blends, but the roadmap is not so clear.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So with that, let's also clear another misconception. So some social media posts claim that ethanol will immediately destroy engines, while others claim that ethanol has absolutely no disadvantages. And when in reality, it is somewhere in between. So modern E20 compatible vehicles are expected to operate absolutely normally on E20 blends. But older vehicles may require more caution and some, hardware change. And higher blends like E85 require specially designed flex fuel vehicles. So mileage differences are generally linked to ethanol's lower energy content, not necessarily to engine damage itself. So the government has also clarified that any move beyond E20 towards fuels like E25 and then gradually to higher blends like E85 or E100 will be very gradual and involve consultation with automobile manufacturers before wider implementation. So I think people need to be a little, they don't need to panic so much, because I'm sure if the government is planning to impose such a big change, they'll definitely, ask the automobile manufacturers to roll out.
Absolutely, there'll be wider consultations. You're right. However, we cannot. It's one thing to ask people not to panic, but it's quite another. The reality, the ground situation is always very different. So, finally, where is India's fuel journey heading? It's probably heading towards a future where multiple technologies coexist. Now, you see, India has two objectives. One is sustainability and the other is self-reliance. So, its green push has to be anchored in Atmanirbharta. Electric vehicles are a clean option, but to manufacture EVs, there's foreign dependence. Also, India needs to make electricity from cleaner sources so that EVs can actually become a truly green option. EVs and hybrids are increasing their share in vehicle sales, at least in the metropolitan cities. So that's a good sign. Now, CNGs, of course, exist, but again, natural gas is imported. At least 55% we depend on imports. Flex fuel vehicles might become more popular, and higher ethanol blends will also become a reality. And finally, if we are able to crack the hydrogen fuel as an option for even vehicles like personal vehicles, then that will be the cure-all that we are looking for. So that's about it. That will be a future where all technologies coexist. That's where we are headed.
I hope that we see that day really soon, and actually India is able to, reach its zero carbon goal. So overall, for consumers, the message is simple. So don't panic only because of headlines or social media content that, okay, it is really bad or it is really good. So first thing is to focus on your own vehicle. Know your vehicle, read your owner's manual, and use only the fuel recommended by the manufacturer. And remember that E85 is not meant for regular petrol cars. As new technologies arrive, informed decisions will always be better than rumors. So India's ethanol story isn't just about changing from petrol to E20, E25 fuel. It's about energy security, farmers' income, cleaner transport, and reducing dependence on imported crude oil. And at the same time, consumers deserve clear information about compatibility, mileage, and long-term ownership costs. So the challenge isn't just introducing new fuels, it's ensuring that policy, infrastructure, automobile technology, and consumer awareness all move forward together. Because the success of India's fuel transition won't depend only on what goes into our fuel tanks, it will depend on whether millions of motorists trust the journey. So that is all on this episode of TLDR. We'll see you in the next episode. Till then, goodbye and take care.
You are listening to Earshot Podcasts. Find us on our website, earshot.in, on YouTube at Earshot Media, and download our app, Earshot, Indian Podcast app.